Hi, this is Heidi from Garden Crossings, and I am out in the greenhouses today, and I am going to take you for a walk and show you everything that is in bloom. It's the end of March right now, and this is our first ship week of the season. So it's always an exciting time when we get out in the greenhouses and really get to be able to start pulling all these beautiful plants, knowing that they're going to get shipped out to your home. I will stop and say that Garden Crossings is a mail order company, so anything you see in these greenhouses, we ship out across the United States. You can head over to our website, gardencrossings.com, and shop all your favorite proven winners, annuals, perennials, and shrubs, along with a lot of other great products as well. So right now we are in our new greenhouses, and there are, let's see here, 6 new greenhouses. And in this space, it's all Superbells, Supertunias, and Superbenia. For those of you who aren't used to those terms, we would call it petunias, calibrachoa, and verbena. Because those are such big plant families for the annuals that we grow, we thought this year it would be really smart just keeping them all in the same greenhouses. So if we knew we had to go out and get those plants, we knew exactly where we were going. So with this being our first ship week, you can see in the background there, one of the gals is out pulling orders. So basically what she's doing is she is just weaving up and down every aisle with her handheld computer. And you'll notice there's these sticks here next to me. Her computer is telling her these different numbers that we're seeing, and then it's also telling her how many plants she needs from each of the sections with a number on it. When we do our planting, we plant in about 5 or 6 rounds, meaning about every week or 2 we plant a new batch of, let's just say, bubble gum. That way the plants are always fresh when they're delivered to your door. We know that our first ship week is our smallest ship week, so we don't need everything ready right away. So we try to space things out so that they're the appropriate size when it's time for them to ship to your zone. Let's just take a walk through this greenhouse and see some of the current color that's going on. Here's a beautiful, colorful crop of Supertunias. Here's some of the Superbenia. You can see we're in a young crop right now. They're not quite as full as what they were in the beginning. Here's a colorful crop of Superbells. This range that we're currently in, this is a mixture of some perennials and also annuals. We have over on the far side there, you'll see some of our standard trees. We've got the nice hydrangea trees. I think there's 4 different varieties that we carry. Also, we have a large selection of clematis vines. So if you love clematis, you can kind of see all the stakes over there. Those are all the clematis vines. And then there's also just a colorful array of perennials out in this house. The heuchera really add a nice patchwork of color to any greenhouse, but I think it's really pretty out here as we walk along and just see all the different colorful foliage. Heuchera or corabells, those are great for sun to shade locations. So if you're looking to add a little bit of interest just through your foliage with the bonus of some flower color, this is a great addition to the garden. We also plant our perennials in about 3 different rounds. So like the annuals, we plant our first bunch of perennials in the fall, and then we plant in January, and then again in March. That way we always have a fresh crop waiting for you in the perennial realm as well. So it's really nice to see all the early bloomers are in here, starting to color up a little bit with some flower color. So that's one nice thing with working in the greenhouse, is it's really fun to watch the transformation of the plants as they go from just baby plants being planted to now, turning into mature plants ready to go to your door. Let's take a walk and check out what else is blooming in some of the other greenhouses. greenhouse, you can see we have another person out picking plants for orders. So when they come out to do this pick, they're doing a master pick, which can be anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 plants, and that could signify a couple hundred orders, or if somebody has a big order, the number is going to be less. So she's out doing a master pick, just pulling plants. Like the other greenhouse, she's scanning every tag and then scanning all the pots, making sure that they're all rooted and ready, because this is a first ship week. We want to make for sure that the plants are ready to go. If for some reason the plants are still a little bit young, then we will let you know that they've been back ordered a week or two, because they need a little bit more time growing in the greenhouse. Especially this first ship week, we have things pretty well timed out, but weather is a big factor, and there are certain plants that just need that heat and the sunshine. So if we don't have a hot or sunny spring, some of these plants can be a little bit delayed. Right now, the greenhouse that we're in, this is one of our hotter or warmer greenhouses. So we have a lot of plants in here like lantanas and Blue My Mind, and just some of the more heat-loving plants. So typically in this space, the temperature is a little bit warmer than what it is in other places throughout the greenhouse. This is also one of, I think, the more colorful greenhouses, with a lot of the Nepeta blooming, and then you see a lot of colors. The begonias are really starting to give us a little bit of color, and then of course coleus with their colorful foliage. Those are always giving a splash of color. So sometimes you have to be a little bit of an acrobat as you're in here grabbing the plants, reaching and stretching to get the best one. We don't always just grab what's right here by the sidewalk, because if there's a better plant further in, we're going to grab and look for the best plants. That way you're getting the best plants that we grow here. Some of the smaller plants, they can just use a little bit more time growing, which will be fine for another week or two. But we always are searching through, grabbing the nicest, fullest plants first. This greenhouse space I'm going to affectionately call the jungle. These are the perennials that were planted last fall, so obviously they have a whole season of growth on top of them compared to some of the newer ones that were just planted. So this just gives you an idea of, especially if you're in the earlier ship weeks, some of the sizes of the plants that we'll be shipping out. You've got these beautiful hostas and daylilies over to the side here. Really nice, healthy looking plants. Also, there's a lot of color going on in this greenhouse too, because some of these plants are just more established and are ready to bloom just a little bit sooner than others. So let's take a walk down the aisle and just see some of the beautiful blooms that are blooming right now here in this greenhouse. So I'm going to actually take a minute to talk to you about what's blooming, because I think I'm going to get questions if I don't. This blue plant you're seeing here, this is a Brunnera. This is the Queen of Hearts. This is a great shade-loving plant. That's obviously a spring bloomer. Behind it is a Dicentra. This is called Pink Diamonds. And this is actually a Dicentra that can be grown in full sun. This plant is a non-stop bloomer from early summer through the fall. It's constantly in bloom here in our gardens. We'll take a walk across the aisle and we'll check out, this is a new Jacob's Ladder. This one is Polemonium Heaven Sent. This is another early blooming perennial variety. Likes to be grown in part shade locations, and it's got this beautiful olive foliage with that beautiful periwinkle blue bloom. Here we have the Tiarella Cutting Edge, and this is another great plant for your part shade to shade locations. It's got that beautiful white bottle brush flower on it, along with a nice foliage, the heavily serrated leaves that are green and have burgundy on the end sides of them. And that's a fairly long blooming perennial. Next one that's giving us a little color, this is Virginia. This is called Miss Piggy. Beautiful bright pink flowers, that nice thick squeaky leaf that's typical of this plant. This also is a shade lover and is great for, it'll just like multiply in the garden and give you these great big huge clusters of pink in the early season. As we move along, we've got several different types of creeping phlox. First we have Ruby Riot, next is Rose Quartz, followed by Pink Sparkles, Magenta Sprite, the purple is Crater Lake, Majestic Magenta, And then we're repeating again with some more rose Sprite. So with these creeping phlox here, these will bloom at a little bit different than your typical creeping phlox. So if you love creeping phlox and want to extend that ground cover bright mass of pink color, planting some of these different series of creeping phlox will help extend that spring color for you. These are great in rock gardens or just looking for a nice ground cover. Now we're in one of our shrub houses, and we did a video on this last week kind of featuring some of these early spring bloomers. So if you haven't checked that video out, go back to YouTube and check it out when you're done watching this. But here's our shrubs, and you can get just kind of a feel of the size of the plants and also the quality of the plants. One thing I will point out is at a certain point these shrubs will get too tall for the box. So we do kind of keep the shrubs trimmed to a certain height if it makes sense. Obviously we're not doing that with evergreens, but with everything else we are trimming and getting them all nice and shaped up. So yeah, there's a lot in here, a lot of different varieties, and the hydrangeas, they're right on schedule to be blooming around Mother's Day, which is ideally really what we want. So the greenhouse we're currently in, this is our quart shrub house. So we carry every single proven winter shrub, for sure in the quart size, and then we carry a lot of them, like most of them, in the gallon size as well. So when you order the proven winter quart shrub, this is very typical of what you might be receiving. So if you call and ask, you know, how big is a quart, we're going to tell you anywhere from 4 to 6, maybe 8 inches tall. It'll just kind of depend on the variety. But another depending factor is when these plants were trimmed. So they get sent through a trimmer about every 2 to 3 weeks. And the reason why we are trimming on these shrubs is because we know once they get to your home, the chances of many gardeners is they're not going to ever trim these plants again. So the more cuts we can get on them before they get in your garden, the more branching the shrub will have, which in turn will create for you a shrub that is more flowerful or just a nice full shrub. So if you get a quart shrub and you think, "How this thing is so short," don't worry about it. It will grow. It'll be a great plant, and just know the reason behind what we're doing, and that's because we want you to have a nice shrub once it gets planted in your garden. I'm going to just put a little asterisk there. Evergreen shrubs, they do not get trimmed. So if you're buying an arborvitae or something like that, they could come in various sizes depending on when they were planted. So they may be more like 12 to 18 inches tall depending on the variety, or they could be 8 inches tall. But you're never going to get an arborvitae that's, you know, been this tall that we've trimmed back, because that is a plant that does not need trimming. So just, I want to make you well aware of that. But yeah, we have an excellent selection of shrubs. If there's a proven winter shrub you're looking for, you're sure to find it. And one thing that's really standing out in here right now that I think is really pretty are the sparky clematis. So let's just kind of walk over there and show you those quick a minute before we head in and show you our shipping line and order creation line, and just where everything happens behind the scenes. So these are the beautiful sparky clematis. I know I've talked about these before in some of the other videos I've done, but we've got sparky purple, sparky pink, and sparky blue. This is an early blooming clematis, kind of a different flower form, but a very prolific bloomer, as you can see here out in the greenhouse. So let's take a walk into our shipping area and see what's going on today. Right now I'm in the cleanup area in our shipping department. So basically we showed you the girls out in the greenhouse pulling the plants for orders. They then get brought into this space where they're put on carts. Well, the carts are actually pulled in from the greenhouse. But we'll look at each and every plant and see if it needs any trimming done to it before it gets sent over to our put away area. Put away meaning divided out for the customers. So you'll see over in this area we just started a brand new, the next set of put away. So we have computer screens. We scan every plant, and then the computer tells us which tray that plant needs to go into. So once they're put into the tray gets scanned, and basically then that plant gets zapped off the screen, so we know that it's finished. So this is just a look inside of what our put away area looks like. We'll head over to shipping next and show you the actual shipping line. So the first step in the shipping line is they're scanning every tray, and what that's doing is populating the order on the computer screen. He's then scanning every pot in that tray to verify that all the correct plants are in that order. So right now, since it's our first day of the season, a lot of people are being trained on their jobs. We're not set up in shipping like we normally are, but because it's a light ship week, we can do it with 2 people. So he's scanning them all, making sure everything's correct. Once that's done, we'll show you what he's done here on the other line. There's 2 shipping lines that's going. So he's getting this line stacked up right now, but let's look at what he did here a few minutes ago on the other side. So once he had all the plants scanned to their tray and verified, he then came through and he put them all in these plastic, not plastic, but into these paper sleeves. He kept them all in their tray. That way we know which plants go with what order. They're then sent down the line where they are boxed up. The FedEx label is applied. And then when we get to the end down there, that's where they get run through the taper machine and put on a pallet so they can get shipped out with FedEx. So like I said, this isn't an actual functioning running line like it normally is. But these 2 guys are just handling on their own right now while the rest of the team is being trained in the various other areas of shipping. So the last step in the shipping process is putting our compliance label on, which that just says that we get inspected from the Department of Ag and everything's safe to get shipped to all 50 states. We then insert 2 different catalogs. We do our Gardening Simplified catalog along with the Proven Winners Gardener Idea book that was made specially for mail order shipments. Next thing is we tuck all those paper tops down into the box. That way the plants are nice and snug. And they get run through the taper where the top and bottom tape are applied. And then they'll eventually get loaded up onto the pallet and then brought onto the FedEx trailer that's outside waiting. I hope you've enjoyed the behind the scenes tour here at Garden Crossings today. Like I started in the beginning, this is our first ship week of the season. So we are training new staff and just trying to get everybody acclimated with all the different jobs that we do here at Garden Crossings. The first week is always a good week of doing it because we're a little bit slow that first week out. So it's a great time to just train everybody, show them all the different roles that they can be a part of here. We like to mix people up and just let them do different jobs every day. So hopefully this has been interesting and informative. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments below. Also, if you're new to our channel, be sure to subscribe. We'd love to make sure you're getting all the beautiful behind the scenes tours. Soon enough, I'll be out in the gardens doing some really gorgeous garden tours. We also have a butterfly house, so we'll be in there probably even sooner than outdoors. Just taking you for a walk and seeing all the beautiful plants here that we have at Garden Crossings. Thank you for watching. This is Heidi from Garden Crossings.